welcome you guys, Daryl Stavros, and you like to be referred to as George generally.
George is fine.
Okay.
Boston George. Simply when you were young, it was your moniker. It was like when you get older, it's like getting a bad tattoo.
Sure, sure. And a lot of people identify with it, obviously, and a lot of people know your story. They know it, from media and following stuff like that. But obviously, it was a very popular movie that helped to get word out and offer up the series of events and that kind of stuff. And of course, Daryl is here, and he's been involved with this industry ever since the very, very beginning, and has been with us and has gone through this process, and recently got some good news from the appeals process and the licensing.
That's right, and
system.
I couldn't have done it without Jamie.
Yeah,
it's been 11 years since we started Third Coast.
Yeah.
Legitimately recognized as the first dispensary to operate in the state of Michigan with local approval. I don't think there's anybody that has a claim otherwise. 2009, boy, we were all pirates back then.
Yes, we were.
I know.
It was a good time.
Yeah. More pirates?
We were. Yeah. Yep. We were called a lot worse than that. George, you've been saddled with some things.
Yeah, I've been called a lot of things.
Uh-huh. Yep. You know what it's like.
Man, so people are excited to learn, a little bit more about what's going on now, and lots of questions have come my way. One of the most basic: how does a lot of people are familiar with the movie and the story that was portrayed, and obviously that was a movie, and it was, was limited time and had to get a lot of stuff in. But how well did it encapsulate what generally went on, and what's kind of the differences?
Well, in the beginning, they tried to make it Hollywood. Johnny Depp came to see me all the time in prison, and he took the script and he threw it on the floor, and he said, and about 20 minutes later, the director and the screenwriter and several assistants came to the visiting room, and Johnny said, the guy is standing here right in front of you. He's alive, and you're giving this Hollywood bullshit. And he said, either you make it real or you can take the $5 million you gave me and stick it. And, we'll change it. We'll make it better. We'll make it real. And they left, and I said, did you really mean that about the $5 million, John? And he said, hell no.
Oh, that's a good story, though. And that movie was very, very successful. And how much notoriety did that bring to you as a person, as far as having your stuff out there then?
In the beginning, it didn't bring a lot of notoriety. Then it started to grow, and I had no idea. I mean, I just signed on to the movie because Noriega stole all my money, and the Bank of Nova Scotia and Panama, and I needed money. And so I signed a movie contract to get money. And I had no idea that it would grow into a monster. I thought it would just become a movie and come and go. Mm-hmm. And 20 years later, I could be walking my dog Mouse down the street, and somebody will pull over in their car and say they want a selfie.
So let's put some perspective on this. The movie we're talking about is Blow, right? Which is a huge success with Johnny Depp. And the Noriega you're talking about is Manuel fucking Noriega, the leader of Panama.
Right.
Who was,
Well, he was working for the CIA since he was 14 years old. Mm-hmm. And the cartels were hiding all their money there. And then he went crazy on cocaine, ironically, and he nationalized all the banks and took the money. And, George Bush told him, just put the money back. He said, leave the country, and it'll be okay. And he basically told George Bush to stick it. And that's when he sent the Marines down. Yeah. And Noriega ran to the Catholic Church and asked the priest to call the Pope and ask him for help. And the priest told him, you're on your own, man.
I don't think the Pope would be lining up to help a dictator like Manuel Noriega.
So you are completely over all the legal processes and time served and all that kind of stuff at this time?
26 years, they set me off free, And that was about a month and a half ago. The federal probation officer called me like 9 o'clock in the morning, and he said, you can have a Bloody Mary right now and smoke a joint if you want. And he said, because you're free.
Wow.
That'd be a great phone call to receive.
And that was just a month and a half ago.
Yeah.
This is like, okay, we're still in celebratory mode, hopefully.
I mean, basically it brought tears to my eyes.
Yeah, I bet. That's
Well, I was
intense.
making a Bloody Mary.
You really weren't waiting
Hey,
for
good
that
idea,
phone
yeah.
call, were you? No. Well,
In the 60s, I used to come here and bring a lot of pot. And then as people damn well know, I didn't know if they know I came here to bring a lot of cocaine, too.
Are there any residual issues with the things that you discuss based on the whole history of your involvement in that scenario from years ago?
No, there's no repercussions. And if there are, I don't give a damn.
Okay.
I'm just going to tell it like it is.
Sure.
well, you said Johnny Depp visited you in prison regularly. Do you still maintain contact with him?
I was at his house
About a month ago now?
about a month ago.
Nice.
Yep. He still respects the contribution that you made and still honors it with his friendship.
Well, like I told him in the beginning, 1 is the number and 2 is the 1. And he said, I think I know what you mean. And I said, good, because I don't.
So, George, you've been here in Michigan. You're hanging out with the Stavroses. How do you find our state to be compared to other places that you visited for cannabis culture, for the quality of the cannabis that we have here? How do we stack up?
I'll give you a 10.
Nice. That's right.
That's out of 100, I think.
Way to ruin it, Daryl. Thanks. No, but
What a lot of people don't realize is the last sentence George just did, which was over 20 years, or right around 20 years, was a pot offense at that time. It wasn't, just like the movie shows it as a cocaine thing, it was actually the last straw was a marijuana deal you did in Cape Cod.
Yeah.
because that is what we normally think that all of your time was spent because of the powder, but really, you got it for the flower too.
Well, they had a tough time catching me for the powder. It took a long time. In fact, there was no DEA until 1972. And a lot of people don't know that. It was pretty easy to transport drugs across the country in motorhomes and across international borders and airplanes. But we kept it a secret. We didn't want anybody to know how easy it was. We just had a small private club.
So you,
telling us about.
so you spent some time here in Michigan, summers, I guess, and do you spend winters somewhere else?
Well, I just arrived here for the summer, and, I'm basically a California boy. There's no humidity in California, but there's a lot of other madness there. Like 3 and 4 hours to get 100 miles from San Diego to L.A.
Sure.
Traffic congestion.
Man,
It's insane.
population.
Yeah,
out of
smog
control there.
that is associated with it too. So where do you spend your winters? Are you planning on staying here in the state?
Well, Johnny offered me to stay over on the French Riviera in Saint Tropez, his estate there, and he's got 2 islands in the Bahamas.
That doesn't sound nearly as appealing
If
as
you don't
hanging out
say
with
yes,
Daryl
I'm
in
going to give you a
Michigan,
noogie.
Now I was invited too, just so you know.
Oh yeah. Now you've obligated yourself. Oh.
Now you're Daryl again, huh?
What's the innuendo there?
So that seems like you have some remotely acceptable options there. I mean, goodness gracious. Plus, staying anywhere with Melissa and Daryl's always fun. So
Right. Plus, the worst punishment than being in prison is to be free but not being allowed to go anywhere.
I thought the worst punishment in prison was having to have Adam Brooke at your house every Wednesday. Some people laughed. Certain people laughed at that.
He's heading to Amsterdam again.
Cave Radio Broadcasting is wonderful to us. They've been a host of the Jazz Cabbage Cafe since we started, and they are wonderful.
Our founder Eric is in the room with us here today. Yep.
They've really done themselves proud with this nice facility that we have here. So we're proud to broadcast from Cave and proud to have you on our show.
I have to admit that it's very casual and professional, and it's the first radio show I've done where everybody's rolling joints.
Yeah!
Always good to be
Number
the first.
one! We're number one! All right!
first. Pioneers.
That's right. Razor Ray's done a lot of firsts. That's all I can
It will
say.
not be the last, I'm sure. I'm sure about that.
Oh, fantastic.
Ray was your first.
No, Ray was
And it
not
won't be his
my
last.
first. No, just to not talk about that any
Start with
further.
Ray and end
No,
with Ray.
Ray was not my first. But
Jamie was.
With Ray's end.
yeah. So I think it's about time for us to take a little break. We'll do that, and then we'll come
Obviously.
back and jump off with the second
And these guys
set.
will not be here, so thank you guys very much.
Yep. How about some applause from the room
Yeah,
for our
please.
guests? Daryl, Melissa, Boston George.
Everybody else who's been hanging around will be here. So
This is the largest crowd we've had at the Cave Radio broadcast for Jazz
second
Cabbage
half
so
coming up
far.
right after this break. Are
One of
we
the
ready to
largest
go into
crowds
break
ever.
here, Dave?
Everybody's fully
Jazz
clothed,
Cabbage
too.
Cafe.
That's not
There we
normal.
go.
Until break time.
For Razor Ray broadcast, for sure.